I've played a lot of FPS games over the years, some good, some bad, but nothing really quite on the scale of crappiness as what I experienced with Country Justice: Revenge of the Rednecks. I've had people requesting I take a look at this one for years now, and it's something I've always been a bit hesitant to do, mostly because everything I've seen on the game just looks like utter garbage, and I'd rather put out a cigarette in my asshole than actually play it. But it's been a slow year, so what the hell.
Just taking care of business.
Developed by Silverfish Studios, a team behind such undeniable classics such as Extreme Boards and Blades 1 and 2, Country Justice is an FPS released in 2005 that seems like a poor man's Redneck Rampage. Unfortunately, no one can simply be told what Country Justice is, you have to see it for yourself. And considering the game is barely 2 hours long, this video is going to be more of an overview than a traditional review. Also because there's really not all that much stuff to talk about.
Is that the best you can do?
The character is Steve Earl, who does the worst Elvis impersonation I think I've ever heard. And the synopsis is you're trying to rescue your kidnapped goat. Just like in Redneck Rampage, how Leonard and Bubba had their prize pig, Bessie, stolen.
You better not stop at the still. This here ain't no time for drinking.
Even Steve's appearance looks a bit like an amalgamation of Leonard and Bubba. It's like the bastard child of both of those characters, and it's just hideous. I mean, look at him. Once I start the game and before I even know what the hell is going on or really get my bearings, next thing I know I'm being attacked by weird looking mutant chickens. Being shot by a nearby cop who fires his weapon so slowly you'd think he's doing some kind of Tai Chi exercise. Then I turn the corner and get attacked by a 3-headed dog. Now this is all in the first 2 minutes of simply starting the game. Right off the bat you'll notice how crappy the shooting is. The guns look like shit and they feel like cold shit, and it doesn't get any better later on. Half the time the weapons won't even fire despite me mashing the fire button, and I have to restart a checkpoint just to shoot something. Visually too, it reminds me a lot of Blood and Bacon, a game on Steam with a similar theme and tone to Country Justice. And the fact that I'd rather play Blood and Bacon, a game where a weak spot during a boss fight is a pig's anus, I think says a lot. So at this point I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing, so I get in my truck and the game crashes. When I load it up again I'm inside the truck and told to drive off and find Sheriff Cletus. Now this is where things start to get really crappy. At this point I'm driving around this largely flat terrain, avoiding mutant cows and horses as I follow what I assume is supposed to be some kind of objective marker at the top of the screen. Whenever you're in the truck you get these cliche country songs playing on what I guess is supposed to be the truck's radio, and they sound like they've just been taken from some kind of stock library. Things like crappy renditions of When the Saints Go Marching In. Imagine being the artist who worked on these songs and one of the only credits to your name is being listed on Country Justice: Revenge of the Rednecks. Anyway, from here on you meet up with Cletus at a collapsed bridge and you ride in the back of his jeep firing at mutant animals with a minigun, before you arrive at a nearby farm to pick up a winch that is supposed to help you get your truck across the collapsed bridge. The farm is overrun with mutant animals that all attack you, and for some reason the human NPCs also attack you as well. Now I think this might be a bug, but I'm not really sure, so I just kill them too. Here you also get a double-barreled shotgun with the most mismatched sound effect I've ever heard, meaning it sounds like you're firing a completely different weapon. Then Cletus gives you a lift back to your truck, and then you use the newly found winch to get across the bridge. Now for some reason from this point on, whenever you're driving, the camera angle points slightly downward, making it just really difficult to see where the hell you're going. I can put up with the shitty driving controls and the fact that the vehicles feel like they've got no sense of traction or proper handling, but this camera perspective just makes it really annoying. I'd ask if they play tested this kind of thing before releasing the game, but I think we all know what the answer is. So anyway, after this you drive to the nearby power plant with your winch, which I still don't know what the hell I'm supposed to use it for, and the game then says I have to use a catapult to open the plant doors. Yet for some reason I can just drive straight through them. I drive around the plant a bit, following these giant arrows which literally tell me where to go as random military looking NPCs shoot at me. Before I end up outside again and a voiceover says I need an airboat to get into the plant properly, and now I have to meet Cletus at the nearby courthouse.
Boy, I could have told you that ain't the way in. You gotta go by boat.
Again, I'm following this stupid objective marker to the nearby town, which leads me to the sheriff's office. Despite the game saying I'm supposed to be meeting him at a courthouse, and then after that, I'm inexplicably thrown in jail. However, this doesn't really last for long because these assholes left the keys to the jail inside the jail cells, so pretty soon I'm back outside again and killing the same looking copied and pasted zombies over and over. Can I just stop at this point to talk about how annoyingly slow the character's movement speed is? I mean, I don't know if you can really see it all that much in the video, but it's like his default movement speed is basically like a crawling speed in any other game. The so-called sprint or running speed isn't even as fast as the default movement speed in most other FPS games either. I mean, why did they make him so slow? And on top of that, when you sprint, the screen shakes so quickly that it honestly makes me feel sick. I'm not being hyperbolic or dramatic, like it literally makes me want to vomit. And I had to stop halfway through playing it because I felt like I was gonna yak. I mean, how do you screw up something so simple as the basic movement controls? Moving on, here's where things start to get really bad. At this point, I'm going back to the plant for some reason, but now I have to take an airboat because, you know, rednecks love airboats, right? And again, airboats, where have I seen that before? And if you thought the controls for the truck were bad, well, wait until you get a load of this thing. I really don't know how to describe how bad this thing actually works. You honestly just need to kind of experience it for yourself. It's kind of like the airboat will turn when you press left or right, but instead of actually turning, it just kind of rotates on the spot, but keeps moving forward, if that makes sense. Look, I'll just say it's bad. It's really bad. I'm completely lost at this point in terms of what I'm actually supposed to be doing, but I follow the fecal coloured river until I find an entrance to the plant. And what a perfect analogy, moving up a shit-stained river as I come to the end of the game's campaign. It's a great metaphor for this game eating you up, then dropping you out of its ass. At this point, I also find a conveniently placed dynamite launching crossbow. Again, dynamite launching crossbow, sound familiar? And also check out the reflection on the crossbow scope. I mean, I have to admit, that's actually pretty funny. Now we're in the endgame. After moving through a couple of short areas, cordoned off by loading screens, I find an evil scientist is doing some kind of experiment on my goat. And what initiates after it is some kind of boss fight that can be finished in a single shot.
One last item to take care of.
Then I escape the plant with Dixie, drive all the way back to the trailer, and that's the end of the game. My reward is a text pop-up that hasn't been aligned properly in God mode along with infinite ammo.
Thank you very much.
Now I guess you could go back out and kill things if you were that bored, but there's far more productive ways to waste time and far better games to do it in. What you've seen in this video makes up 90% of the content in this game, obviously save for the few parts here and there where I got stuck and wasn't sure what to do next. All up though, I think it took me just under 2 hours to finish, and now I have to live with the fact that I wasted 2 hours of my existence playing Country Justice. Hey, what did you do on the weekend? Well, I played Country Justice Revenge of the Rednecks. No one's gonna say that, it's embarrassing. I'd rather tell people I spent the time playing Club Penguin. Oh, and I also forgot to talk about the drinking mechanic. So the way this works is that down the bottom of the screen, you've got a moonshine meter, and you can drink moonshine by pressing M by default. But whether you're drunk or sober seems to have no real effect on the gameplay outside of making you move slightly faster. I think it's just something else they've ripped off from Redneck Rampage, but in Redneck Rampage it actually had a point. Food and alcohol would affect the controls the more drunk you got, along with replenishing your health. You had to kind of balance both of the two so you didn't get too inebriated, and it also helped the game feel more rednecky in that regard. Plus it wasn't just moonshine, you had beer, whiskey and moon pies. Moon pies, what a time to be alive. You know, for a long time I thought Terminator 2029 was the worst FPS game I'd ever played, but this thing really comes close to knocking it off the throne, if not just knocking it off entirely. I never knew anyone who played this when it first came out, and the people who told me to check it out all agreed it's one of the worst games ever made. I can just picture someone's mum or dad seeing the box for this thing at a game store back in 2005, seeing the pictures on the front and the back and thinking their kid might enjoy it, but if only they knew what they were doing. I couldn't find much info about this game online, but as far as I could tell, it also uses the same game engine as Zog's Nightmare. At least it looks and feels pretty similar. If you don't know what Zog's Nightmare is, it's a racist FPS made by neo-Nazis where you go around killing Jews and black people. And what a perfect couple of games to be released on the same engine. A game about rednecks and a game about neo-Nazis. I kept trying to look for positive things to bring up about this game, but there's honestly like nothing at all. It looks like crap for the time it came out, the music and sound effects are stock, and I think everyone knows by now just how horrible the gameplay is. It just kind of fails on every single level. There are games that fall into the so bad it's good category like Rogue Warrior, but this is not one of those games. This one's just bad. Everyone involved in making this should feel remorse, like they should feel a sense of guilt for having worked on this. The best thing to come out of this was that it made me go back and play Redneck Rampage, and I was pleasantly surprised with how much fun I can still have with that game, despite all its issues. There's a really good source port too that lets you run it in the eDuke 32 engine, and even despite it being 20 years old, it's far superior to Country Justice.
Ah, you son of a bitch!
If you want to try it out of curiosity, well, be my guest. But there's far better novelty FPS games out there that won't make you want to throw up both literally and figuratively. Country justice, it's time someone put you out to pasture.